prophet over this house. Each year, the Lord gives him a prophetic word for our peoples, for us. And last year, the word was make the word of God first place and final authority. And we focused on that. Middle schoolers, don't worry. We read Joshua 1:8 this morning. We don't have to do it again. But this is part of the word. And he says, 2023 will be as exciting as it can be. We should have said it. It will be a time when you will say it and the devil will flee. All around you, you will begin to rise up like great mountains of victory. And you will stand strong and say, God is on my side in 2023 because he is blessing me. Brother Copeland has bars. He likes to rhyme and all of these. But here's what I do. I go and I look at these words and I start breaking them down. I want to find out what is my job in this. What's my job? So how many of you guys had a good 2023? Had a good one? Okay. Praise God. I see some hands. Thank you. You said you give it a 7.5. I see. All right. So it says, this word caused a lot of, not confusion, but a lot of people read it and thought, oh, it's going to be the most exciting year ever. And he said, no, it can be as exciting as it can be. And the way he said it, I was like, oh, that means it might not be exciting. So what's going to make it exciting? And then it's supposed to say, it will be the time when you will say it and the devil will flee. How much stuff did you guys say last year to the devil to resist him? Not just like, here's the thing, Pastor Terry says you can't fight a thought with a thought. You can't. Got to open your mouth. So, if we had some situations that weren't necessarily the way we wanted them to, it's probably because you did not say enough. Just honest. You did not say enough. I know there are plenty of situations and circumstances that my wife and I and our family we dealt with that it probably boiled down to either the lack of words that we were saying or the type of words we were saying. And we try to watch a lot of what we say. But there are some times we may have, just gotten quiet. We're working on that. I literally have a sickle. You guys know what a sickle is? Like a blade. It was the blade I used. I know Levi remembers because he thought I was crazy when I did offering in the main sanctuary with a big sickle, like a blade. That blade is actually sitting in our bathroom right now. I know, it seems weird, but it's a reminder to us to use our sickle, to use our words to speak the things of God. It's a reminder. Yes, it's kind of weird. People, if they come in our bathroom, like, why is there this big, huge blade just sitting on the... It just is. But the end of this word said, and you will stand strong and say, God is on my side because he is blessing me. So if you did not feel like, man, this year was not what it was supposed to be, it's not God's fault. It's not, because he really, really, really wanted to bless you. He was just waiting for you to do your job. No condemnation, really. Like, no condemnation. It's just we're going to, from here on out, we need to make sure that we're speaking the word. Okay? So that was 2023. Let me see, what else was I going to pull out of this? Okay, we're good with 23. All right. I'm going to read to you part of 24, and then we will put up a section. So just hold off for a second, Mr. Kyle. And he said, and what about 2024? Well, 2024 is going to be a powerful year. There are going to be some marvelous things happen. It's like the old saying, it'll be the best of times and the worst of times. And there are some things that will settle down in 2024, and there are some things that will speed up. But this outpouring of my spirit that has happened and is happening all over the world will get more intensified, and it will be stronger and stronger and stronger. And the devil will get upset, but who does he think he is? He's a loser. And it said 2024 will be a year of more and more and more and more. More finances, more healings, more miracles, more outpourings, more people coming to Jesus, more things happening. I am a God of increase, saith the Lord. I'm not the God of death, but I am the God of war. So rejoice and be glad, for I have things well under control. For those who will obey me and listen to my voice, I will keep you and protect you throughout 2024. Pray, obey, and vote. So, we'll go to the next part of that, but I read this, and I was like, okay, that's God's job, God's job, God's job. That's his part, his part, his part. That's him, okay, yep, that's him. That's him. And then at the very end, he says, for those who will obey me and listen to my voice, I will keep you and protect you. So here's what I think when I first read that. If God said he's going to keep you and protect you, what does that tell you? Yeah, it's going to tell you he protects us, but that tells me that there are going to be things that are going to come my way that I'm going to need protecting from. Like, who needs, like, if nothing is coming your way, do you really need protection? Nope. So I read that word and I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm going to have to be on guard. Yeah, a little bit, but he said he'll protect us if you obey and listen to his voice. And I was like, oh. So this is how my brain works. Like, I see that, everybody's like, yeah, more and more and more and more and more. Woo! And exciting, more, yeah, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want all of those things. But then when I started looking for what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to obey, listen to his voice, because then that's going to bring me protection. I'm like, whoa, wasn't that 2022? We had to worry about protection. Remember, it builds upon itself. I was like, oh man, so 2024. So what that immediately tells me is that we need to make sure that we're ready. That we're ready for some things. But if you obey his voice, you'll be protected and it won't even matter. Kyle, go ahead and put up the 24 chunk for me, please. And so at a ministers, Staff Chapel, this is kind of the landing zone. He said in 2024, we're standing on Victory Shore. We launch out into the deep, and a great harvest we reap. Bars. We're standing on Victory Shore in 2024. So that's why we did the whole Hawaiian thing, because we're standing on Victory Shore. It's punny. Yeah. Listen, they put it on the graphic and everything. All right, so here's the deal. I'm taking you guys into my brain for a second. I read that, and we read that and we're like, woo! Victory Shore in 2024. We're like super excited. But then I was looking, I was like, but what's my part? All right, so let's look at it. Let's break it down for a second. What does the word shore mean? Give me a hand. Boaz, I know you got all the answers. What do you got, sir? Okay, so very simple definition is the land that surrounds a sea, a lake, or a river. The area right around there. What I will tell you is this. These prophetic words are filled. When I say filled, I mean filled with all type of symbolism and things that I'm sure Brother Copeland has no earthly understanding of when he says. So, a shore, we talked about, it's a body of water. I mean, it's the land near a body of water. Do you guys know what the other definition of shore is? Nope. Nope. A shore, the other definition for shore is something that is a support system. So when you, yes, it is a support system, like a beam or a foundational element. So when Brother Copeland prophetically says we are standing on Victory Shore, we immediately think beach, which is true. That's part of it. But also, it means we are standing upon a support system that is built on victory. So prophetically speaking, he was thinking the beach, not knowing that the word shore actually means like another, a set of assistance. It's something that assists you to help you stand strong, to help you be supported. And so in this prophetic word, the thing that's helping us stand strong is the victory of the Lord. So I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Let's backtrack a moment. In the first part I said, he said, it's like the old saying, it'll be the best of times and the worst of times. Who knows what that's from? Nope, not War and Peace. Yes. What is it from? What is it from? Yes. Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens. It's the opening line of a classic novel from 1859. It was. All right, so A Tale of Two Cities. I don't suggest you go out and read it unless you're taking like AP Lit or something like that. They might make you. It's not an easy read. I'm telling you this. But that statement is the first line of that novel. Remember I told you these prophetic words are filled with symbolism. So here, let's do this. Let's read the first paragraph of A Tale of Two Cities, and let me know if this is prophetic or not. Put that screenshot I gave you up. So it says, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. Sound familiar? It was the epoch of belief, was the epoch of incredulity, just meaning like ignorance. It was the season of light, it was a season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way. Let's just stop there. This was written in 1859. Does it sound like now? We got wisdom, we got belief, we have foolishness, we have ignorance, it's darkness and light, we have hope, and we have despair. "2023 could be as good as it can be." You have to choose. So Brother Copeland is prophetically speaking. He's like, it's like the old saying. Not prophetically realizing that he's pulling on one of the most famous starting points to a classic novel everywhere that talks about the differences between light and darkness. So we're going into 2024 where we have to make a clear choice. Are we going to walk with the Lord and be in hope, in wisdom, and have the best of times? Or are we going to be like everyone else who are going to go the opposite direction? So not it's just not a cool saying. I look at that situation, I goes, ooh, there's a little bit more to that. So this tiny little prophetic word, we're standing on Victory Shore. Ah, it's the beach. Yeah, no, it's the beach. Yeah, it's the beach. But it's also a place of shoring up things, of making things more solid. It's cool. He said the best of times, the worst of times. We used to say that all the time. No, it's from a novel written a couple hundred years ago that talked about the difference between light and darkness. That's where we are. Go back and put the 24 word back up for me. And then my brain, and I told the pastors this, I said I was reading it and I was going through it, and every time I read, one word jumped off the page every single time I read it. Every single time. It had nothing to do with more. I saw the word launch. And there is where I was like, ooh, that's our part. That's my job, is to launch. All right, you guys know what a launch is, okay? When you launch like a football or something, you're chucking it. When they launch a rocket, launches are not gentle things. I should have sent it to Kyle. I had this whole video of where they would launch brand new ships, like massive ships, and it looks like chaos. They literally have like a big boat, big massive boat on a ramp, and they just drop it off the ramp and it dips into the water, shoots water everywhere, and then the boat goes and it's like, okay, we're good. It's a violent act. Sometimes they take these boats and they put them on these big like rubber tubes, they like big balloons, and they just roll it down a hill. I'm saying like massive ships that wouldn't even fit in this room. They're just like, all right, we're going to blow up some balloons and we're just going to roll it down this hill into the water. It is a very severe, violent thing. So I'm like, okay, we're standing on Victory Shore. You think the beach, oh, it's so nice, so pretty, so calm. I'm from the West Coast. I love the beach. Love the beach. You know what I don't like doing at the beach? Just hanging out at the beach. Listen, if I can get from my car into the water as soon as possible, that's what I want to do. Like the whole, let's go set up shop and lay out in the sun. I don't want to do that. It does not sound like a good time. Like I want to be out there in the waves. I want the lifeguards blowing their whistle at me because I'm going too far. Like I don't do this with my kids now, but before, when I was without child, I was the person with the boogie board, like floating way out there with the crazy people, with the lifeguard is like, you should probably come a little closer. That's me. Now, I just kick around in the water because I have younger people, but please believe if that wasn't the case, I'm from car. Like if my feet don't have to touch the sand, I'm good. But here's the deal. Yes, it's nice to go and hang out at the shore. It's very nice. Like, it's very calm. It's very relaxing. I do like the beach. I go on rollerblade, like Pastor Catherine said. I do. I would go on rollerblade and just like hang out the beach, not like in the sand, but away from the sand. But for this, I know a lot of people heard that word, and it's like, yes, we're standing at Victory Shore. Yes. It's so wonderful. It's calm. You're listening to the birds in the air, and the waves are slowly coming. You might dip a toe in. It's great. It's a beautiful thing. You look at the graphic, and it's all like nice and pretty. The wave is like coming to what? That's beautiful. It is. And then there's a period, and he says, we launch out into the deep. And all of a sudden, that peaceful, calm, serene thing is gone. Like he didn't say, we wade, Like those of you who sat down, we were talking about getting into the cold pool. We're not like, I'm going to dip a foot in here and wait for it not to be so, you know, so cold. It's going to be a little nicer. The wave comes and you run out of the water. If you've ever been, see Texans. I don't know if you guys have hung out at the beach, but you see all those people all the time. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to go," and the wave comes and they run out. Nope, I'm the person doing that awkward stomp run into the water. Like, come on, try to get to the wave. Here's the deal. I don't like seafood. I don't like seafood because it tastes like the ocean. Because I'm the person going head first into the ocean, taking a mouthful of ocean water and seaweed and all that stuff, and that's disgusting. So the idea of eating something that tastes like this wave that I just ate, I just can't get past it. So this idea of 2024 is going to be this calm, serene beach experience is not what he's saying. When he's saying we are launching out into the deep because that is where we're going to reap our harvest, you have to get ready to swim. And you have to get in the water. Guys, you guys are too young to be living this passive, disconnected life. You're too young for that. Every adult in here will tell you that there are situations in their younger lives that they wish they could do over so that they could take that chance. So they could step up and do that thing that was on their heart. How many times do we have to hear people who have changed careers into their late lives because they were afraid to take a step out into the deep? God is literally telling you through the prophet, I want to give you more and more and more and more. That more times 4 is not going to come find you locked in your bedroom listening to sad music. That was for PK. That was for PK. I know she's like, you guys in your moody playlist. But seriously, that's not the case. The word launch into the deep, there is nothing about the idea of being launched into the deep that is passive, that is soft, that is gentle. No, launching is a violent act. But if you remember, the first part of that word earlier said, if you obey me and listen to my voice, I will protect you. So he's saying, listen to me, obey my voice, and trust me, as you get launched and catapulted and flung and shot way out there into the deep, I'm going to be there to protect you, and you're going to reap a harvest. Let's read some scripture. All right, let's go to 2 Kings. Stories that you guys are pretty familiar with, but don't worry. Well, I would say don't worry, but we're not going to go full boat. But, all right, 2 Kings 5. I think most of you guys know this story, but we're going to read it. All right, verse 1. You guys know the story. We're dealing with a prophet Elisha. Yes, not Sha. All right, Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and in high favor because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. I'm going to read quick so we can get through. Now, the Syrians on one of their raids had carried off a little girl from the land of Israel, and she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, would that my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy. That's a little girl of faith. So Naaman went in and told his Lord thus, and so spoke the girl from the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. So he went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, when this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you Naaman, my servant, that you may cure him of his leprosy. Next. Verse 7. And when the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, am I God to kill and to make man alive, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Only consider and see how he is seeking a quarrel with me. Let's pause here. Just set the stage. Naaman, general in the Syrian army, leprosy. Just so we know, leprosy in the Old Testament meant a wide range of diseases. So we don't know exactly what it was, but whatever it is, it was bad. And so this little girl who they had captured said, man, if you were in Israel, you'd be cured. And he was like, really? Let me go to Israel. The king was like, hey, go to Israel. So he goes to the king of Israel. The king of Israel was like, what? What is the Syrian army commander coming here thinking that I'm going to heal him? And the king starts freaking out. But, verse 8. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent to the king, saying, why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me now, that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, go wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean. A shore is located where? Around a body of water. All right. And the word of the Lord said that we are going to be launched where? Out into the deep. Into the water. So here's the deal. The word of the Lord said there will be more healings, more finances, more all of those things. Naaman, in verse 11, but Naaman was angry and went away saying, behold, I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call upon the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and cure the leper. He was looking for what? The easy way out. He was looking for the easy way out. He was like, the man is supposed to just come out here, wave his hands around, and everything be good. But no, the word of the Lord said he needed to go do what? Launch himself into the deep 7 times for him to be healed. But he wanted the easy way out. Just like some of us. We're about to get more and more and more and more. I'm just going to sit back and relax. And then we get to the next sentence, and it's like, launch yourself into the deep. And you're like, dude, what? All right, verse 12. Are not Abna and Farpar? Just listen. I can't say anything. My name is Ara. All right, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel. Could I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. First, he wanted the easy way out. Then he was like, well, can I just go and do this in my river? He wanted it his way. More and more and more and more. Verse 13. But his servants, thank God for wise people. A servant came near and said to him, my father, it is a great word the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? A great word the prophet has spoken to you. A great word the prophet has spoken to you. Brother Copeland, it's a great prophet, and then he has spoken to us. Has he actually said to you, wash and be clean? Verse 14. So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan. He launched himself into the deep according to the word of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Pretty simple. He could have hung out on the shoreline waiting for the prophet to come and do the easy thing and wave his hands over him and do all this stuff. No, the prophet was like, you need to go get in the water. Let's go to Luke. Setting the stage for what we're going to do in a minute. Luke 5, verse 1. On one occasion, while the crowd was pressing in on him, Jesus, to hear the word of God, he was standing by the lake of whatever that lake is called. Yep, what you guys said. So if he was standing by the lake, he was standing on the lake's shore. Okay, because we know a shore is the land near a large body of water. So Jesus was hanging out on the shore, and he saw two boats by the lake. But the fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. Getting into one of the boats, which was Simon's, he asked him to put out a little from the land. What did he ask them to do? What do you do when you put a boat into water? You launch it. And he sat down and taught the people from the boat. And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. If they would have hung out on the shore, what would have happened? Absolutely nothing. They would have just hung out on the shore. That's what would have happened. So Jesus was like, let's launch out into the deep. Put down your nets. And Simon answered, saying, Master, we toiled all night and took nothing. He was like, I don't want to do it. No. And then he had to change it. He was like, what? But at your word, I will let down the nets. And when they had done this, they enclosed a large number of fish, and their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both the boats so that they began to sink. Just very small reminders. Hanging out at the shore. Like, this is a beautiful word. At Victory Shore. What's at the shore? Victory. How do we get that victory? Launch out into the deep. Because here's the deal. You have to return to the shore, right? You got to come back. So yeah, you go out into the deep, you do your thing, then you can come back and you can lay out on the beach and hang out. Listen to the waves. You know, throw a frisbee around. Laugh at Pastor Eric as he's stomping through the waves. I mean, because if you've ever tried to just run through waves, you can't just run like this because you got to kind of like step over them. You know, and you do that awkward dive in, and you dive in, and you realize that it's only like 3 feet deep, and then you get a mouthful of sea water, and you get wrapped in seaweed, and then you don't want to eat salmon. That's just how it works. Okay. I just want to give you, all right, one more example. Let's go to John 21. John 21. Please tell me I gave you that, Kyle. Okay. So we can look at the flip side just a little bit. After this, Jesus revealed himself again to the disciples after what? After his death, burial, and resurrection. So Jesus is back. To the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, and he revealed himself in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going to go fishing. They said to him, we will go with you. They went out, got into the boat. How did they get the boat into the water? They had to launch it, okay? And where did they go fishing? They had to go into the deep because you're not going to catch anything in the shallow water. All right, but that night they caught nothing. Verse 4. Just as day was breaking, Jesus stood on the. Yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, "Children, do you have any fish?" They answered him, "No." He said to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." Okay, here's the deal. Is Jesus at the shore? Yeah, Jesus is at the shore. It's okay. Because what else is at the shore? Victory's at the shore. The issue is we can't just stay there the whole time. They had to go out. And so, it's cool. They launched their boat out, and Jesus is like, "Hey, the right side." The right side? Yeah, the right side. What did Brother Copeland's word said? If you obey me and listen to my voice, I got you. I will keep you. I will protect you. And then you got more blessings, more healings, more all of those things. And it said, so they cast it out, and now they were not able to haul it in. Because of the quantity of fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved, man, John was kind of salty with the way he wrote things. Disciple whom Jesus loved, therefore said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, so here's the deal. John and Peter had this thing. John, the disciple whom Jesus loved, made it to the tomb first. And then Peter showed up. Yeah. This is a side note. I think it's hilarious that Peter was most likely the source material for the book of Mark. And, they mention that one of the disciples cut off the ear of the person. But it wasn't until you got to John is like, it was Peter. Peter did it. He's like, Peter did it. And then he's like, the disciple whom Jesus loved recognized that it was the Lord. Then Peter noticed. I love their relationship. I bet you in heaven they still kind of like, give each other a hard time. They kind of fight over who gets to sit right next to Jesus. It's one of those. When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his armor, his outer garment, for he was stripped for work, and he threw himself into the sea. Where was he going? Where was Jesus? The shore. Okay. So here's the deal. I wanted to paint this picture that when we launch out into the deep, we don't just stay there. You got to come back at some point. Once you get all the blessings and all that stuff, you can come back. There's rest. Come back. And this is Peter. She said, the other disciples came in the boat dragging the full net of fish, for they were not far from the land, about 100 yards off. When they got on land, they saw a charcoal fire in place with the fish laid out on it and bread. So now you're on the shore. You launch out into the deep, do all your work. You come back, and what do you come back to? Like a barbecue. Like seriously, like a meal. Like, oh, Jesus is grilling on the... So here's the deal. The blessing is there. The blessing is there. And you get to enjoy the blessing. It is not all hard work, but you do have to launch out into the deep. You have to. Those of you at the very beginning who were like, I ain't jumping in the pool when it's cold like that. There's going to be some moments. It's going to be some moments where you're going to have to hop on that diving board and launch yourself into the deep. Hey, Casey, can you grab my bucket for me? We're going to do something. You guys know I'm not always the most conventional. I want you to just take a moment. I want you to start thinking about what is your more. You're like, what is my more? I'm gonna go slow because I realize I just had him bring out a big bucket of water and everybody needs to stare at it and try to figure out what we're doing with it. We're doing baptism. No, I'm just okay. If the Lord, if God is saying, I want to give you more and more and more and more, what does that mean to you? Think about it. I don't need you to give me an answer. This is the part where we're going to actually start to think and reflect. What is it? What is that more? And I don't want you to be overly spiritual with this. Because here's what happens. We get overly spiritual with the Lord. Oh, I just want you to bless me with just enough so that I can be of service to other people and I can. If somebody is saying to you, I want to give you more and more and more and more, what is that? What is it? I want you to think to yourself. I want, like, this is really serious. I want you to really start thinking about this. For 2024, you guys have to get ready to get launched. Not 15 minutes of taking one tiny step at a time to get in the pool. This is your older siblings and cousins grabbing you by your arms and your legs and swinging you as far as they can into the deep part of the ocean. Knowing that if you obey his voice, he will keep you and protect you. Here's what we do. We can't just cherry pick the things from these prophetic words that we want to cherry pick. God promises protection with obedience. If the God of all creation is saying to you more and more and more and more, you have to understand that he is ready to open the floodgates of heaven and just dump blessings out if you are ready for that. 2024, like, I was praying for you guys. I was in my six hours, and I heard the Lord say, you need to try out for that team. Try out for that choir. Try out for that band. Apply to that school. Go for that scholarship. Ask the Lord for those pair of shoes. I saw someone, it was a random, like, reel or something like that. This wife, for every gift, buys her husband a Lego kit. And it was like, it's the sweetest thing. He's super excited. And you start to look through the story and you realize that this is something that he grew up wanting and could never have. And his wife is helping fulfill those childhood desires. You guys are all children. The Lord is saying, I want to give you more and more and more and more. That word is not just for the adults. That word is for you guys right now, so that when you get adults, you don't have to have someone buy you all those things that you couldn't get when you were younger. That you don't have to live vicariously through your children or your grandchildren because you were too afraid to launch out in the deep and try out for that group. You were too afraid to try out for that part in the school play. You were too afraid to put your name in a hat for something. Does this mean that you're going to get every part? No. Does this mean you're going to make every team? No, because you have to do the work and you have to be talented. But stop limiting yourselves. Do you want to go to a really good school? Let's launch out to the deep and put in an application. Do you want that scholarship? Go for it. Do you want that pair of shoes? Do you want that new phone? Okay, yes. Go out for it. Find a job. Ask somebody, hey, can I come and work for you? Can I come and do something? You have to put yourselves out there. Stop, 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 stop limiting yourselves. It is a waste of time when the God of all creation is saying to you, I want to bless you with more times 4. Like, this is not for relationships, but shoot your shot. Seriously, shoot your shots. I was a pretty good basketball player in high school. I let a coach persuade me out of shooting the shots that I wanted to shoot. I went and practiced. I remember first practice back from the summer, I'm knocking down jump shots, and he was like surprised. I was already a starter. I was a 2-year starter at that point. And you know what? I let him talk me into a different place. And I think sometimes, had I taken those shots, what would have happened? What's the quote? I think it's a Michael Jordan quote. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. What's the worst that can happen? You don't make a team. Okay. You weren't going to make the team if you didn't try out. Like, I want you guys to have like supreme confidence going into situations. And I'm just talking simple, natural stuff. You start getting some experience trying out difficult things in the natural. What's going to happen when in the spiritual, God is like, you see that person over there? I want you to go over there and minister this word to them. I ain't doing that. But you go over, you start doing those things, you start listening to his voice, and some stuff is going to happen. All right, here's what we are going to do. The pastor's going to help me out. We're going to give you guys a moment, though. Miss Bethany, I'll have you guys come up in a minute. I want to set the stage for what we're going to do. I told you earlier on, we kind of went into teaching mode, but we were going to do some imparting. Impartation with the laying on of hands is just a different thing. We don't do that enough. The Bible talks about it multiple times. Paul referred, when he was talking to Timothy, said, hey, remember when we laid hands on you. There were times when Jesus just spoke a healing. There were times when he actually put hands on people. There were times when people were prayed for and they received the baptism of the Holy Spirit. There were other times when they got hands laid on them and they received the baptism of the Holy Spirit. What we are going to do tonight is we are going to join our faith with yours. And this is going to be an impartation where we are going to launch you guys into some things. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to take your time. Take your time. And this is where my unconventional kind of weirdness comes in. That's how God does things. On the table, there should be a few little half cards. What is your more for next year? What would you have? What would you encounter? What would you do to where when we're having this service next year, you're like, I got my more. What is it? Is it that team? Is it that school? Is it that scholarship? Is it a material possession? Is it a confidence? Is it a breakthrough in an area? Is it a friend relationship? I know a lot of people are searching for friends. Is it a best friend? My wife will tell you she prayed for a best friend and got one. This is how it happens. Is it a healing? Is it a manifestation of his goodness? What is your more? And a lot of times, we have those Easter services. I don't know if you've ever been to those, or those resurrection services where we write something down on a piece of paper. The most powerful service, one of the most powerful services I've ever been in, this church put a big, huge beam in the front of the church with a box of nails and hammers, and gave everybody a piece of paper and said, write something you want to give to the Lord. And we went up to the front and you hammered it into this beam. It was like, it gives me chills just like thinking about that, because of the symbol of what it was to nail something to a piece of wood on a resurrection service. It's a little different. You're going to take your card, you're going to write your more, what is that thing, and you are going to put it in the water. You put it in the water. Like if I could, we would go out to Eagle Mountain Lake and we would launch them out into the lake. This is the next best thing. Next best thing. All it is it's a symbol. I want you to remember, before we went into 2024, this is that thing that I'm wanting from the Lord. And I'm going to launch that thing into the deep. Because in the deep is where we're going to reap that harvest.